I just wanted to say hello. This is Jason Pepe. I'm going to show you this bonsai. I've probably shown this to you guys before. This is a very old bonsai. It's going on about 8 years now, and this is Adansonia digitata in that bonsai container you see right there. And then I've grafted two other Adansonia species on here. So these are baobabs, right? So this one, if you look at these leaves, I'll bring you in a little bit closer. Notice those leaves there compared to these leaves here, which are much larger and wider. And then if you look back there, you can see those leaves. Now let's come back here and I'll show you these leaves. Much more petite little leaves. You get a better idea what they look like here. So this is Adansonia grandidieri, which is another baobab species. So on this tree, this bonsai that's 8 years old, what we're looking at is two grafts. This one is the graft for the, let's see if I can show you the graft line as best I can. Well, you can hardly see it anymore, but that's the Adansonia grandidieri, and then this here, this graft, is the Adansonia digitata. So this one is just waking up now. You can see the new growth is coming out. And this is the original Adansonia seedling, all this other growth. So that branch and this branch are two grafts of two different mature species. Now, with that said, this is Adansonia digitata, and this is Adansonia grandidieri. And then there's another one back here, which is also Grandidier. You can see the graft bands that fell off, and you can look closely here, and you can see where the actual graft line is on that. And that's a beautiful looking plant, isn't that? It's gorgeous, huh? So the idea is that one day, probably in about 2-3 years, when these are big enough, we may see these flower and produce some fruit, which would be really interesting. Now this one we kind of manipulated. This is also grafted. This is Adansonia digitata, and you can see I played around with it a little bit. I gave it a real good curve there, and what I did here is I grafted a mature, you see this is the graft line right here. I don't know if you can see it. There you go. If I come down here a little bit lower, I think I could give you a better view of the graft. There you go. So there's your graft right there. This is just a regular cleft graft, and let me tell you, these baobabs, they fuse together really nicely, pretty quickly. About 3 weeks on average, you can start to see that they're going to make it. And if you look here again, looking at this guy, you can see that you have very great, it seems, great graft compatibility between digitata and Adansonia grandidieri. No problems at all grafting those two species together. And if you're more interested in how to propagate these, not only can they obviously be grown by seed with a certain process that you have to follow, but you also have the capability of air layering these trees. So if you want to see a video on air layering, I have a pretty good one with a follow-up video number 2 that covers the air layering process, and then later the air layer results with the transplanting. All right, everybody, you have a great night. Thanks for watching.